Alrighty, another tale of my life. Having grown up in a Mormon white supremacist uh, household. Uh, it's from my mom's side of the family, primarily. My mom's dad's side of the family, technically, because my mom's side of the family were Northerners. My mom's dad's side of the family were the Southerners. He was from the plantation owners, and my third great grandfather had a plantation in North Carolina, and the family had plantations all in the South, down into Florida and down into the Caribbean, and thus were slave owners. And that's where the story comes from, that my third great grandfather had sexual relations with my third great grandmother. And so when I decided to buy the lowered price Ancestry.com DNA, I was hoping that they would be able to help me out with where my third great grandmother came from. Because when we had found the For Me Duval book, we learned that not only were we of French royalty, but sultans. You remember my mom finding a name and putting it on the temple card for the church to do the ordinances, and oh, his first name is Sultan. Oh, his first name is Sheik. No, Mom. No, those are titles. So, yeah, we've got Arabian Night blood in me as well. But yes, it is just a small little bit similar to what is Elizabeth Warren, who claims to be Indian. I have about as much Indian blood in me as she does. And so, yeah, an Ashkenazi Jew. I have a little tiny bit of that. And so, yeah, third great grandmother, I believe, is 164th. And so that's a very small portion. But I wanted to know where she came from. And come to find out, Ancestry didn't have a clue, didn't indicate any ancestral connection, and so that was disappointing. And so I was thinking, okay, maybe she's not black slave. Okay. And then because I did my DNA through Ancestry, they occasionally send me emails, and I got one day, some year or two after, I guess. We have come up with new DNA for you. Well, we've changed it. And I'm going, what? You don't change DNA. So yeah, I'm not happy with Ancestry DNA. 23andMe, however, yeah. See, I was only going to them because they advertised paternal and maternal lines going back to origins. So yeah, I want to know that. And so I didn't expect them to tell me where my third great grandmother was from. And sure enough, they did. They said, hey, we found a marker. It's not on your paternal or maternal lines, so we can't pinpoint which line it's from. And I already knew. But you've got something from West Africa. And so there it is. My third great grandmother was from Western Africa. Okay, so, somebody tried to call me racist way back in the day. and I had just gotten my results from 23andMe, and so I was able to comment back to that horrific, abusive person. You know, it's amazing. People think they're clever when they themselves are guilty of racism. They turn and blame others for being racist. It doesn't work that way, guys. But I was able to slam them and say, you know, what do you mean by racist? My third great grandmother was a black slave who was raped by my third great grandfather. So am I supposed to be a black racist or a white racist? I'm confused. We're all humans, people. We need to cut out the ethnicity, ethnicism, because that's the technical term. It's not a racism. It's the human race, the canine race. So, you know, the kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. Race is the family. The human family is the race. And so if you're racist, that means you hate dogs or cats or other family organizations. So yeah, if you're an ethnicist, difficult to say, then that's the real hatred that everybody is using instead, intending to mean instead of racism. And so we need to cut out this hatred amongst each other. Alright, so yeah, that's my side of the family. Yeah, my grandfather and grandmother named one of my aunts Dixie for the Southland. No, it's for Dixie College. And Dixie College wasn't for the Southland of the United States, was it? Yes, it was. So, I think there's a Dixie song. Going down to the land of Dixie. Cotton, something, something. I'll have to see if I can find that song. Maybe I'll use that as the theme for this one. And so, yeah, my mom was named Judy, which is interesting because that's the equivalent of Judah in Hebrew. And so technically I am born of the house of Judah. That's how it works. The house represents the queen, the mother, the wife. And so when Moses was found by the daughter of Pharaoh, no, the Hebrew word was house of Pharaoh. It was the queen who found Moses, not the daughter of Pharaoh. Daughters are not allowed to take in children when they're unmarried. So if you don't know your ancient Egyptian culture, you'd never figure that out from the horrible translation of the King James Bible. So yeah, the queen discovered Moses in the Nile. So yeah, Moses was of the house of Pharaoh, adopted in, shall we say. And then King David, from the house of David, that Jesus was said to have to be born into, the house of David. And David was from the house of Judah. And so, there you go. Isn't that fun? A little Hebrew lesson today. An Egyptian lesson. So, yep. Yeah, my grandfather had a Communist Manifesto. And I thought, oh, yeah, I want that. So when he had passed on, and I saw all the boxes of books that he had in my parents' living room, I was told that I could take whatever I wanted, because that'll be my inheritance. Ooh, yay. Yeah, he'd married a third time. The second time was to his Catholic receptionist, secretary, nurse's aide at his dental office, and her being Catholic and him being Mormon just didn't work out in the relationship, so that didn't last long. And then he felt bad when my wife abandoned me and said that I had to go back and get her. I can't go to Canada. What money? She took everything. She took the car. She took the property. People just don't get it. And so, yeah, he thought he was responsible for my failure. No, it was hers, all on the first wife. She was the one responsible. And then he moved to Utah and then married Patsy. And I think Patsy's now passed on. I'm not sure. But yeah, because he died, Patsy got the inheritance, at least the money stuff. She didn't care for the books. That's why they were in the living room. And yeah. So I inherited the Communist Manifesto, but then it was destroyed or thrown in the garbage dump out west of Riverton, which I guess was technically west of South Jordan, because you had to go up to the mountainside and then take a right towards Magna, and then the garbage dump was in that area. So I don't know. I'm sure they've probably finished filling it up and have now turned it into a housing development or a golf course or something. But yeah, that's where all my property is buried. Thanks to my dad. He wanted me out of the house. You know, he set the whole thing in motion and then blamed me for it instead of taking responsibility for himself and trying to make amends by restoring my position. That's what abusive people do. They just don't get it. So yes, my dad helped, you know, pack the car and the van, or the moving van that her dad brought down to the States to take her back to Canada with my kids and property and stuff. And he was the one who stepped in between me and her when she said, we need you to sign this document allowing us to take everything from you and flee to Canada. And I said, no, I'm not going to sign that. And then my dad stepped in and says, just go, I'll take care of it. Oh, yeah, yeah, I'm sure nothing's illegal in that. Oh, but sure enough, there isn't, according to the laws of the land that violate the Constitution. So they got away with it. And when she got the divorce up in Canada, I'm like, hey, wait a minute. Aren't I supposed to have a say? Isn't there supposed to be a court hearing where I get to say, Your Honor, she kidnapped the kids? No, not necessary. And so yeah, I got screwed. And then soon thereafter, the very next year, the start of the year, the first paycheck at work, there's more than half of my paycheck gone. What's going on? So I go to the financial office at the company and said, what happened? What is this? What does this mean? Oh, that's a garnishment from the state. What? Next time you should get a better lawyer. What? And so yeah, I had no money to afford to live in a shared apartment that I was able to get with a minimum wage job that I was in. Yeah, people just, People of privilege just don't get it. We cannot pull ourselves by our bootstraps to become as they who inherited their money and are in a position of privilege. It just doesn't happen. And so it's abusive for anybody to just say, we're not going to help you. You pull yourself up by your bootstraps. So that's abusive speech. And it's criminal for companies who expect that of their employees, who sit on their thrones of their business and do no work because it's their employees that make them their money, so that they can have the nice cushy chair and the nice house and be able to play golf and tour the world. It is the slavery of their employees. And I understand Fox News is trying to defend the billionaires who are being persecuted with the Democrats wanting to tax the rich. Wah. You didn't earn your money. Your employees earned that money. And you're holding them in slavery, just like my third great grandmother and her family from West Africa. So, yay, slavery. Oh yeah, when I was on my mission in New York, I was held up, robbed by knife point. My missionary companion as well. And it's interesting, companion is a Russian word. And yet we use it in the church. Yeah, my missionary companion, my companion and I are companions. Comes from compromat. Same root word. And so, yeah, we were, he wanted to rest. I was like, are you sure we want to do this? We're in Flatbush, Brooklyn. And so we sat at the steps of a Baptist church. And then I noticed there was a guy who was walking sort of by. He was a distance away. He saw us. He stops his current course and changes course and disappears down the block, down the other block. And then he comes back. And then other people from the surrounding blocks start merging on us. And I'm going, oh man. And sure enough, they held us up and give me your money. I don't have any money. I'm a missionary. And we're there at a Baptist church. I'm a missionary. And so there was nothing they could get from us. And so I did have a watch that had the major temples of the LDS Church at around the dial, and so he ended up taking that, and his excuse was, it's reparations for what you did to my ancestors. If I only knew now, or then what I know now, I could have replied, my third great grandmother was a slave owner from West Africa. Or it's not a slave owner, she was a slave from West Africa. And she was raped by my third great grandfather, who was the plantation owner. Are you sure that I'm the right guy? Are you sure it's not somebody else? And so, interesting thing is that some time later, I was on the subway, or not. Well, they don't have subways; it's above ground, and it's not tracks. It's their version of tracks. But I saw him at the end of the car. He was reading the paper. He was dressed in a suit this time. And but no, I looked into his face and I go, hey, wait a minute, that's him. And then all of a sudden he sees that I'm looking at him and pulls down his paper and he got off at the next stop. And I was telling people, if I'd only known I'd meet him on the train, that I would have given him my case for the watch. But yeah, that's what they do. They steal watches and then they go and they sell them. You know, the guys, the flash people, and they have the watches all draped down there in her trench coat. They didn't do that. They had boxes, and they were fancy boxes. You can stand them up, and then it opens up, and it's like a display case. So it's a pretty fancy box that they've got. But yeah, all sorts of watches, and I knew very well, oh, okay, those are all stolen watches, and you're trying to sell them to make money. And you're jacking up the price of the watches so that, yeah. And so, yeah, and then there's the shell game. And I've been going all out on the shell game on my website, trying to warn people, hey, what Trump is doing is pulling a shell game. It's a distraction. So I warned everybody, but oh well. So that's my life, and nobody's gonna watch this video either. Not the tale of Pink, not the tale of two brothers. So let's see, probably the tale of the house of Judah, maybe that's how I'll label this. Alrighty.